And the whole time, the whole thing was shadowing us, right behind us, right on the side of us. You could kind of see the thing moving through the woods.
All I can remember is flipping the light on, and I see this creature, and I knew in my heart, I knew in my mind, and the whole nine yards, this isn't a man.
And then this thing walks across the road, takes a turn towards us, and then leaps over a guardrail.
Went to look forward, and there was a big black thing, is all I can call it.
Welcome to Squatch-D TV, exploring the Bigfoot mystery each week with your hosts, veteran researcher, author, and TV personality, the Squatch detective, Steve Kulls, and from the Bigfoot Research Project of Kentucky, Chris Bennett. Sit back and buckle up as we bring you guests from around North America discussing the Bigfoot phenomena, but not without a few laughs too. Here are your hosts, Steve and Chris.
And good evening, cyberspace. Welcome to Squatch-D TV for today's date, May 24th, 2020. I'm your host, your guide, the Squatch detective Steve Kulls, along with my co-host, the man downstairs, Mr. Chris Bennett. Hello, Chris.
Hello, Steve, man. I tell you what, I hope everything's going okay for you in New York. Everything's been doing good around here. We're still breathing in and out, and got our cans of Lysol and our breathers every time we go to the store.
Yep.
But the weather's been nice. It really has. It's been really great.
You sure has. It's been phenomenal weather. I
would like to wish you a belated happy Bitcoin Pizza Day. This has happened. The 10-year anniversary happened on May 22nd when the guy from the Bitcoin Talk Forum, Laszlo, bought 2 pizzas and paid 10,000 Bitcoins for them. And in today's money, that equates to around, at current value, about $90 million.
No kidding. Boy, does he feel bad he bought that pie.
Well, you know, that must have been a heck of a pizza.
Well, let's start doing our roll call, Chris. Hello to Ricky.
Ricky, welcome.
Hello, Patricia. Welcome. We haven't seen you here before. Welcome to Squatch-D TV. And Thomas said, last live show for a while, go back to work next Sunday night. Well, I'm glad to see you're going back to work.
Yes, good deal, Thomas.
Good and bad, but we'll catch you on the replays. Yeah. So hello to Frank. Frank, good to see you. David,
good to see you, Frank.
Hello, David.
Good day.
And whoever else is out there, welcome. Well, what an interesting week. I do have some sad news to break, everybody. That for those who don't know, John Tomical, the man who published The Creature, and who I believe is the actual author of the work, actually passed away a few days ago. at aged 92. So our condolences to his family and whatnot. And pictured there is Ryan Cavaline, who's doing Mountain Devil 2, The Search for Jan Clement. And he did quite an extensive interview with John.
Yeah.
And yes, Patricia, thanks for watching for the first time. Hopefully it won't be the last time.
Welcome.
We try to keep it fun here, and we try to keep it informative. Yeah, so I'm actually going to be in a small part of Mountain Devil 2 via interview. My thoughts on that, so that's kind of cool. But, yep, very, very sad day that he passed away.
Well, God bless him. He made it till, what, 92?
92.
That is something these days. It really is. But, of course, everybody wants to live to be 100 or more, but going to be missed.
Well, I have an aunt that is 105.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
She's still doing. Yeah, so, yep, so this week on the schedule, we actually have a channel schedule up. On Tuesday, there'll be a new edition, episode 2 of Squatch Stories. If anybody hasn't seen Squatch Stories episode 1, check it out. It's only 3.5 minutes long. It's a little play on an encounter, and we're going to put those out. Wednesday,
I like them, Steve. I wish you would do more of them.
Yep, well, we're going to start pulling them out. So
Okay,
it's good content, good positive content.
Yeah.
Try to, it's so tough to not be negative sometimes. And Wednesday evening, I'll be doing the Squatch Detectives video blog. I'll be doing that probably at 9 p.m. on Wednesday evening. 9 p.m. Eastern, that is, and we'll be talking about different things and whatever comes to mind and taking questions live. And Friday, we have the grab bag. Who knows what video I'm going to conjure up. So it won't be a Squatch story, but it may be something. Who knows? We'll see. So anyway, without further ado, unless there's anything in news-wise you have, tonight we're going to be talking with Cameron. And there he is. Hello, Cameron. Good to see you, brother.
He's muted.
I have him muted. Hang on. There we go. Go ahead, Cameron.
Hey,
Welcome.
Hello, Chris. Hello, Steve. How are you guys doing tonight?
We're doing wonderful. Well, welcome
Good,
to Squatch-D TV.
Thank you. Thanks for letting me join your show.
Oh, absolutely. Thanks for coming on. It's our honor and privilege to have you on.
Yeah.
So, we're going to jump right into this as we always do with our guests. And why is my screen so blurred? Because I have a Bigfoot behind me.
Hide your Jack Links.
Yeah, that's right. He's actually got my book. But anyway,
he's reading Steve's book back there, I think.
Yeah, I'm putting him asleep.
Never your book, Steve.
Well, time for the cheap, shameless plug. If you haven't picked up,
Please.
The Sasquatch Playbook.
I'll have to add that to my collection.
Amazon just came out this February. So visit it over at Amazon. Just Google my name and my books will come up. All right, so Cameron, how in the hell did you get involved in this crazy Bigfoot world?
Well, it all started back at about this time in 1997 when I was, when I was 7 years old. Actually, in the fall of 1997. And I was having dinner one day, and for some reason, my dad was talking about talking to me about his time when he was living just outside of Vernon, BC, in the early '80s when he moved out from Ontario to find work. And he said, "Oh yeah, I lived in BC, and there was, it's the land of the Sasquatch, Bigfoot, whatever." And of course, 7-year-old me says, "Oh, what's that?" And he saw it's this big, hairy, ape-like creature that's well known in Canada, mythical history or whatever. And he's like, "Oh, you should go to the school library tomorrow. I'm sure you can find some books on it." And I did. And from that moment, I was hooked. So, of course, I grew up, and I came in right at a good time. The Four Horsemen were still around. Renee DeHinden, who I got attached to really quick. Peter Byrne, John Green, Dr. Grover Krantz. You know, they were older, but they were still around, and they were still on TV, whether it be documentaries like Sasquatch Odyssey, which was my real first Bigfoot documentary I watched and got into. And then one day, my dad showed me the Patterson film. It had to be on it was on TV for some reason, and I saw it, and it instantly hooked me right away. And so, from about 1997 till about 2017, I did about 20 good years of research as a kid. You know, got what I could do. Then I tried to go in a different avenue of doing sports broadcasting and tried to get into that. I ran a couple of YouTube channels, but unfortunately, it just wasn't getting me anywhere. So I made the decision to come back into the Sasquatch world because I thought, well, I know more about that. And the last few weeks I've gotten back into it, and I've been very fortunate to interview Steve, such as yourself, and got in touch with some really good people and been able to interview them to, you know, ask some questions, get advice. And not much has changed since because I left for 3 years and then came back out of it or came back to it. So basically that's how I got started. And of course, with me living in Alberta, I mean, it's not quite Sasquatch capital of the world, obviously, but I have been learning. There has been quite a bit of activity in Alberta. And so my focus is, I know there's a lot of what I kind of got some advice from Mr. Byrne and Mr. Cliff Brackman was, and Mr. Thomas Steenberg, who also gave me some really great advice, and so did Steve in our interview, is basically, you know, stick close to home. You know, back in the old days, even Mr. Byrne said, you know, he'd drive 500 or so miles in the old days, and he said that's just not the smart way of doing it anymore. He said best way to do is stick close to home. So I thought, well, what's close to home for me would be the Jasper, Banff, Nordegg kind of area. Right. And I thought, well, there really isn't a lot of people talking about reports coming out of Saskatchewan or Manitoba either. So an idea popped in my head that since those areas are still easy for me to get to, I mean, I mean, not those. I don't know if either of you guys have seen pictures or video of what Saskatchewan and Manitoba look like, but they're known as the prairie provinces in Canada. But there is some reports out of the northern and regions of those provinces, not as much as Alberta, but I thought, you know, somebody still needs to look into that. So I decided to come up with the Canadian Prairie Sasquatch Project, which is a name I just picked out of my head. And just so I can gather my own reports and, you know, just kind of anybody has a sighting in, you know, Alberta, Saskatchewan, or Manitoba, they could forward it to me. And so that way I can start collecting my own database instead of, you know, looking online for reports. And so I could gather my own and kind of have my own database, that kind of thing.
Sure.
Because I'd hate to be the kind of guy to rip off people's reports. Like I built up my own database from reports online, but, you know, I left the original credits in there and stuff like that. And I just store on my computer. I don't say they're my own filed reports, but you know, at least I'm hoping with this project, I get some people that come forward, which I know is very hard to do for people. Because when you see something like Sasquatch, a lot of them don't want to talk about it, which I totally understand. So I'm thinking, you know, and another thing is I didn't really want to touch BC because I know there's already some great people doing some excellent work in BC, Thomas Steenberg being one of them. And I thought, you know, I think I'm just going to focus on Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba. So those are my target areas.
Hey, I just want to throw a quick shout out to B. Hi B.
B.
And thanks for watching. I know you just said that you always watch, but you can really catch a show live. Well, welcome.
Glad to have you, B.
Yes, glad. Yeah, and Steve's having some problems with Google Chrome. Geez, that's new to me.
I sense some sarcasm.
Yeah, well, also everything. Well, prior to the show, I was all set to go and everything was running great, and all of a sudden I got my cell phone because I use two computers to run the show. And the show that really spins the wheels is the icon you see above me.
Yeah.
Right. That's so that's where we get the video feeds, the picture feeds, all that stuff, and the audio is all channeled through there. And all of a sudden, I use a laptop, and that's over there, and all of a sudden everything froze. And it wasn't on the laptop; it was on this computer. And then when I had to hard reboot the computer, And then next thing you know, I said, well, let me clean out the cache. So I use my C cleaner, and I go to clean it, and it says Google Chrome was still open. How? I just rebooted the computer. So Chrome is doing some funny stuff lately, so I'm not too happy with it. And hello, Joey. Joe, my man. Good to see you, brother.
You had to clean your cache?
Had to clean my cache. I have no idea.
I don't have any excess cash around my house.
Yeah. Once the bills come, my cache is always clean.
Yeah.
Right out.
That's right.
That's funny. So out of, you've talked to a ton of people getting back in, and I think you're doing it really the right way, because what you've been doing is you've been seeking input from other researchers that have, a reputation for being credible and telling some really deep-seated stories. So I have a lot of high aspirations for you, because you're learning from some of the best, like Peter Byrne and Renee DeHinden and Tom Steenberg.
Right.
And, those are all the gaggle that was close to Canada, and hopefully I imparted a couple of nuggets of wisdom on you. Although,
yeah, definitely.
I shake my head. It rattles like a gumball machine.
Mine's more like a pinball machine, so not to worry. Unfortunately, I mean, I didn't personally get a chance to talk to Mr. DeHinden. He passed away in 2001. But when I say I got attached to him, it was more so his attitude, and more so the fact that his seriousness and his, shall I say, take no BS kind of research way is what I kind of, that's why I kind of latched onto him, right? Because, he'd always say, this is no game, you can't be stupid about this, So, that kind of accent, Mr. Steenberg can do a much better accent for an impersonation of Renee.
And it looks like Tom is having some issues with his, I have no idea what's going on. I'm not in poor lighting whatsoever. So,
Steve, looks okay to me. I can see you just fine.
I'm in the same light that I've been in every week, so I don't know what's going on with Google Chrome tonight, but it's not playing well with StreamYard tonight. So.
Well, I can see you just fine, Steve. My computer is a dinosaur too. I buy my wife the best money can buy, but I use the best I have. So I've got like a 4th generation Intel here. So that's good enough for me.
Happy wife, happy life.
That's right. That's right.
Okay, so out of all the folks you've talked to, who, and I don't want to give away some of your stuff. Out of all the folks there, who imparted you like the greatest amount of wisdom? Please don't say me. Don't say me.
Well, you're in luck there. Well, honestly, I like 10 years ago, I got the opportunity, like I said, to talk to Dr. John Bindernagel, who I first saw on a documentary show up here called Creepy Canada. And he was the first pro researcher I got the courage to contact and whatnot. And, he really helped me out, 10 years ago. And unfortunately, and we always kept in contact until the day he passed. And I never got the chance to go out there and meet him, which was really hard for me to get over. So, but getting the chance to talk to Peter Byrne was unbelievable. Here's a guy that I grew up watching on TV, reading in books, seeing on TV, and you're actually talking to him on the phone. And it just was like, I was shaking. I called my girlfriend right after it happened, and I was like, oh my God, I'm shaking. Like, I can't believe it. I was on such a high that it was, it was. And then also I got a chance to talk to Bob Gimlin 10 years ago, and that was cool. But I was mostly getting my own kind of report about his encounter, which we all know about. I did get a chance to talk to Mr. John Green as well 10 years ago, and that was amazing. So to me, it was definitely the original, talking to 2 of the original 4. Also, Dr. Meldrum out of Idaho State University, I had a really good conversation with him. I didn't expect I'd talk to him as long as I did. I kind of thought, he's busy. He'll probably give me 15 minutes. I think we talked for almost 2 hours.
Wow.
And yeah, so it was really nice for him to lend his time and kind of just, here's, look for this. And because I wanted to ask him about the Bosberg footprints, and because I talked to one person and he said something, and then another person said something. So I'm like, I'm going to ask Dr. Meldrum, because he would probably be the guy to talk to about, that kind of thing, with it being footprint material.
Right.
So, and his answer was exactly what I expected. So those would be, I can't really just pick one, but if I'm being forced to pick one, I'd say Peter Byrne, because he's been doing this since 1956.
Yep.
Right.
One of the originals.
Yeah, so it's just unreal. And he's invited me to his place. I'm hoping to get down there at some point in my lifetime, but unfortunately with this COVID bug going on, who really knows when a vaccine will be available and safe to travel. So that's really up in the air, but he's been helping me out a lot.
Yeah.
Now, you see, and one thing that really impresses me is that you have all these people, and you hear things about people saying, oh, they're this, they're that, they're this, they're that. But they lend so much of their time, like Dr. Meldrum. He's taken a lot of hits over the years. Oh, he's in it for the money. Especially that one guy from Canada there, the hunter guy, who's slamming Meldrum all the time. Here's a guy, these people are dedicating their time to make sure this guy gets off on the right foot. And I think that's incredible.
Yeah.
And that's moxie. I mean, Cameron, I applaud you for reaching out, saying, hey, I'm going to, because I never even did that. I was kind of, shy about that whole thing when I first got involved. I'm not going to contact these people. They don't want to talk to me. But you had the moxie to say, I'm going to see if they'll talk to me,
Yeah.
So
and another cool interview I did was a guest that you had on your show a couple weeks ago, Carl Crew. He was kind enough for me, or let me interview him and kind of get an own personal story about how Jerry Crew found those tracks. And there was stuff he told me that I never heard before or read in books. So it even solidifies that story even more for me, knowing that, those are not Ray Wallace footprints that were found by a bulldozer in 1958 at all. Like that was the beginning. And everybody, even Peter Byrne gave me, there's one guy I'd like to talk to, but hasn't gotten back to me yet. And that would be Larry Lund. I'd like to talk to, but of course he might be busy with other things. But honestly, just being able to talk to who I've talked to and Cliff Brackman as well really helped me out. He said, give me a call anytime. Like, such a friendly guy. I mean, he doesn't seem to have an ego. He doesn't seem to, there was one person I really wanted to talk to again, but that kind of turned into a bit of a not a battle, but it didn't really go anywhere. So I backed off on that one. So I kind of was like, okay, I'll just leave that one alone. But I don't really want to mention names or anything. But no, everybody that I've talked to has been helpful, including you, Steve. And it's just amazing how that's the thing I told my girlfriend. I said, boy, I tried to do sports broadcasting, getting into that for 3 years. And I talked to some people and it never really went anywhere. And I was doing a lot of videos on YouTube, and I just, over the years, it just really started to decline. And it just made me lose interest. And one day I was literally cleaning my room and I look on my bookshelf and I say to my girlfriend, I said, what do I have on my bookshelf? What do I really have a lot of? And she replied right away, Bigfoot books. I said, that's exactly what I should be doing. And it's been easy peasy ever since.
Now, what's some of your reading collection? I mean, what are some?
Oh God!
Oh, you have to show me, but you know, if you want to.
Let me grab a few here, and they're right beside me here.
And that's funny because I'm going to be doing a video blog this week on reading material, a necessary thing for Sasquatch researchers. So
yeah, that's a nice thing. Even though some of these guys have passed on, their books are still available.
Yep.
And you can actually get to know the person by reading the book.
Yep. Well, at least how they want you to see them.
Yeah.
So some of these are second editions because I had to replace them because I've had them, like this one here, written by Lauren Coleman, The Field Guide to Bigfoot and Other Mysterious Primates. Yeah. I mean, this is a second edition. I did have the original, but unfortunately the back totally broke off. So this is definitely a must-have because it's got, like all the things you really need. The one, and of course, you got to have a copy of this, you know, in your collection. I've also have the
Belgium,
yeah. So I got to go through that one as well. And of course, you can't be a Bigfoot researcher and not have a copy of this as well.
Yep.
This is another must-have to me. Sasquatch: The Apes Among Us by John Green.
So far, I'm 3 for 3.
Yeah.
I have all 3.
And this one is the one that I most recently finished. This was the John Bindernagel's first book. And it was so amazing, you know, finally being able to read this, and since his passing, and I literally could hear his voice the whole entire time I was reading this.
Yep.
I would like to get his second book, but that's a bit harder to track down. The next one I'm going to be reading when I'm done Thomas Steenberg's first book is Bigfoot Footprints by Dr. Grover Krantz.
Yep.
So I have that as well. And Bigfoot Casebook, again, another classic, but this is updated to 2004.
Now, I'm going to warn you about that book. Not every encounter there in that book
this one?
Yep, is accurate.
Okay.
The stories, probably the dates in the story, the timelines are accurate, but some of the facts in there are more of, I think they were some of them were collected off of news reports. And the reason why is if you go to the A Bear Road sighting in New York in 1976, I think it says he's on duty at the time. Police officer on duty. So and that way, I have that book myself, and I was like, oh, that's not correct.
Oh, okay.
So I'm very careful with books that source other materials.
Okay.
Unless they're properly noted and quoted. In that book, great book, great to see. Okay, this is great to put pins in the map. Agreed with that 1,000%. But some of those books, and I talked a couple of weeks ago about a book that I picked up, a paranormal book that was basically the same thing that had, completely said something wrong about the Annabelle case. And so books that get resourced. I think we were talking with Ken Gerhardt about that. We were talking about sourcing and stuff. So that's one of those books, great book, a lot of research done, but, double check. If you see a story in that book, double check it with some original sources, because then you'll get the real meat of the matter. Try to get the source material.
I'm glad you told me that, or else I never would have known. I would have just read it and, okay, that happened. And then another one that I got to get to, like I bought a lot of them and I just haven't gotten to them yet because I have so many.
Oh, by the way, Chris Bennett has a message in the chat.
Yeah.
Keep your head on a swivel. Stuff is getting interesting around here. Cryptidville. And he's from Kentucky.
Good.
So
that's good.
And it's Charlie Wonton says, hello there.
Charlie. There's Jimmy in there too. Hi, Jimmy. Jimmy Trigg.
Yeah, Jimmy. Hey, Jimmy. Here, Jimmy.
It's hard to get those two guys together at the same time, but somehow we manage it.
And I meant to mention Steve Cawthorne, the Gentle Giant, is also on our listening list here. So, hello, Steve.
Welcome.
I'm on his show quite frequently, so it's kind of fun. I do a show a couple of times a year at least, so we have a little fun. But yeah, so I always suggest, like Legend Meets Science and the John Green books, because John Green was very immaculate at details.
Yes.
The Grover Krantz, all of those are awesome materials.
And then, like, the last two that I have in my hands here, I got to get to this one as well, the Bigfoot Controversy. I don't know where you guys stand on that book.
Who's the author?
Roger Patterson and Christopher Murphy.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. And what it basically is Roger Patterson's complete book with an update supplement on the famous Patterson-Gimlin film by Christopher Murphy.
Gotcha.
So it's basically a second edition of Patterson's book plus some words by Christopher Murphy. Gotcha. And this is the oldest one in my collection. This was given to me right when I got started by my Uncle Don and Aunt Chris for my 7th birthday. So this was Renee DeHinden and Don Hunter's book. So I want to reread this one again so I can get a little bit of a refresher. But this is the oldest book in my collection.
Very cool.
And that's not even all of them, but that's all I'll show you. Don't want to bore you guys to death.
Hello to Patrick over there on Twitter. Good to see him in tonight. Chris, got questions? I'm gonna grab a couple things off my shelf.
Well, I just want to ask Cameron if there's anything going on there lately. There's not been much going on here lately, not that I know of anyway.
Right. And it's great to see. Well, up here in Alberta, and this is kind of the talk I had with Mr. Byrne. I always call him Mr. Byrne because he's up here. He's even noticed too the amount of sightings that have declined. He was saying something that he hasn't seen a lot of activity since 2018 or 2017. Here in Alberta, so the way Alberta is situated, we're west of the Rockies and east of everything else.
Yeah.
So we're kind of, but it's, yesterday my girlfriend and I took a trip down to the Nordig Rocky Mountain House, Abraham Lake region. And I was absolutely blown away by how wild it felt out there. I've been to Jasper twice. I've been to Banff twice, but I've never been to Banff in 10 years. And that's where I was hiking around yesterday. And it just felt different between those two. And a feeling came over me that, man, if Sasquatch is going to be in Alberta, this is the spot where it is. And it just felt different than being in the nice, friendly confines of Banff and Jasper, where there's way more tourism and towns. This was just out in the wild. It was just those trees just go for miles, and it doesn't look thick in that area, but it is. I could probably walk in there 10 feet and you wouldn't see me.
Well, that's the thing, I'm as an American, I'm always under the impression that once you get you cross the line into Canada, it's like wilderness, dude, like trees everywhere. I know you guys got some big major cities, and you've killed your share of trees too, but I think you got a lot more trees than we got.
Yeah, it is just unreal. Like I said, that's the first time I've been in that area, and I did watch Mr. Standing's documentary and stuff in that area, but till you actually get there in that area, I was just like, whoa, like this. And I told my girlfriend, and I just said, man, I'm feeling something here. This feels different, really different than when we would go to Jasper. It just feels more wild-like. It really feels like you could easily get lost there, no problem, and no one would find you if you got lost.
Oh, yeah.
Patrick over on Twitter says he felt like that in the Allagash of Maine. Well, for those who don't know, Maine is basically the only Canadian province that we call a state.
All right, that one. By the way, we gave you guys Alaska too.
We bought it from the Russians. Damn it.
Yeah,
you gave it to the Russians of all people.
Oh, my bad.
Dude, I love the looks of Alaska on TV, and I'll watch it on TV all day. That's fine, but I would not want to live there because, I really don't like cold weather.
Here's an interesting story. I have an old boss of mine many years ago who actually moved to Alaska and lived off the grid. And occasionally I'll see his Facebook post. He actually was on one of those shows, the Alaska Mountain Men. He actually had a scene on that. Somebody, hold on. So David Winter heard you mentioned the magic word, and somebody caught it. So I don't know if you're willing to go on record what you feel about Mr. Standing, but here's your opportunity.
Well,
I'll just instead of getting you in a whole quicksand, into standing in a pile of quicksand, pro standing or not pro standing?
No, not with him. No, not at all.
Okay, so that should answer your question, David. There, we don't want to really focus this show on that guy.
No, that's just I just was in the area yesterday where I know he was doing research, but that does not mean I believe in his stuff he's come up with. Kermit the Frog looks more real than his stuff.
Bring up Patrick's comment.
Kermit the Frog. I can't do the voice.
Oh, man.
Hello, Kermit the Frog here.
Reporting live. There's
But
a
no,
because you know people forget Kermit was the reporter. He was originally a reporter. He used to wear a little trench coat and the hat.
Yeah,
and the
that's
microphone.
right. That's right.
People forget that. Where the show goes, I have no clue. But anyway, I wanted to introduce you to a couple of books that you may also find very interesting. Is and a few of my favorites and a couple of really old ones. And as you can see, these books are very, very old. You know, because these are a lot of these are the first edition. One of my favorite books.
Oh, I've been looking for that.
Sasquatch with Don Hunter with Renee DeHinden.
Yeah, that's probably the same book I have right here, just an updated version.
Yep.
So, but that's the one I want, is the original.
Then we have this book, which is a great classic, written by Dr. John Napier.
Oh,
that came out in '72. That was my second Bigfoot book that I ever got. And finally, and this is a very interesting book. This goes to the roots of it, and this book you can tell is really, really old because I think the date on it. And I got to be careful turning the pages. Yeah, the copyright was the year of my birth, 1969, and that's The Abominable Snowman, written by Eric Norman.
Oh, wow.
And a lot of people don't know Eric Norman was a pseudonym for John Keel. So that actually was written by John Keel, who, you know, went on to write a lot of different cryptids and the Mothman prophecies and stuff like that. So yeah, a lot of interesting stories in those books and a lot of encounters, firsthand encounters. And then, you know, people question me sometimes when they say, well, I never hear the stuff about, you know, the mind speak and stuff like that. Well, I've got, you know, unless you're well read like me in these books that I try to get from the 60s and the early 70s, it wasn't a thing, or it wasn't a thing that anybody was, it wasn't a thing of, how should I say, that anybody was willing to write about, at the very least. So that's why when I say that the cases like those were very far and few between back then. There's nothing, you know, in writing about them. And it's actually a phenomenon that started in the 80s with the advent of James Kiwani Lapsaritis and Eric Beckford, who kind of curtailed off of him. And then this movement spread into social networking. So, yeah, it's really a weird place now. If you go traversing the social networks. So, you know, I've always stuck to what was written in the 50s, the 60s, 70s, and a lot of the 80s. But like I said, you know, where it really started to get bad was, you know, the late 90s. And so we started hearing more and more about this.
The time I started getting into it, 97 onward.
Yep.
But just to quickly answer your rest of your question there, Chris, the most recent stuff that I have seen as far as the reports, the Alberta Sasquatch organization, who has done some really great work in my home province. I believe their most recent reports go to 2017, 2018, where Nordegg, the same area I was at yesterday, that seems to be the Alberta hotspot. I think there's a couple new ones in the Jasper area from 2018, but as far as I know, I think those are the most recent Alberta stuff.
That's interesting. Another thing I was going to ask you, Cameron, what do you think that these creatures are like mainly just biological, or do you think there's some sort of paranormal aspect to their existence?
Well, I'll answer that question for you very easily. No, it has nothing to do with UFOs or aliens or any of that crap. It is to me, a unknown cryptid that we don't know is if it's more ape than human. To me, I did toy with the theory at one time that I thought they might be a hybrid. of human, like more like absolute 50-50 human and ape. But then when you really think about it, we're ape too. So that theory carries nothing. To me, it is just a unknown creature, cryptid, whatever you want to call it, that modern science has not discovered yet, roaming the forests of North America and other places on the world. It has nothing to do with UFOs or mind control or other Matthew Johnson voodoo.
Oh, he said the J word. No, it's fine.
Not that.
We're not afraid to take anything on here, so nothing is taboo on this show. There are shows that dance around topics, and there's shows that'll dance around hoaxes. There are shows that'll dance around misidentifications. We don't dance around here. We're about the truth.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I'm a straight. That's why I kind of coined myself after DeHinden. I guess animal is a term I could use loosely, but when I say animal, I'm like DeHinden once said, I'm into Sasquatch in the bush on the ground. I'm not into the Sasquatch, whatever Lapsarautus has in his mind. I just, to me, it's something out there that we have got to find. And my girlfriend actually came up with a really interesting theory. And this is a good question to ask. She thinks that because the sightings have been kind of low, could it be possible that they're going extinct at this point in time? Because, when you look at the charts, post Patterson film, when everything kind of skyrocketed, and now even Mr. Byrne told me a lot of it has gone quiet. Could it be possible that we could be seeing the early extinction of Sasquatch?
Ooh,
interesting. Interesting point.
Well, I hope not.
Well, if you think about it, these creatures are rare as it is. So maybe, there's researchers out there that'll tell you they see them every day. Do I believe it? No. But are they going extinct? I think they're so rare as it is and rare to see as it is that I truly think that has there been a downturn in sightings? Do you know what I really think happened? Finding Bigfoot went off the air. I think because we had a sightings explosion when Finding Bigfoot started on the air, and then when it went off the air, all of a sudden the sightings are starting to dwindle down. Why is that? Because exactly that reason. I think that the sightings were never great in the 80s and 90s, and I remember first getting into this in 98, 99. Sightings were rare. And, even in the early 2000s, they were rare. Hey, we got something, got to roll. It's the first time we've seen, maybe you're lucky to get 2 or 3 sightings a day, a year in a particular area.
Yeah. Exactly.
Right? But then Finding Bigfoot came on, and then every little drop in the woods is a Bigfoot. Oh, well, I heard these vocalizations. Oh, I heard some tree knocking. Oh, I saw what it looked like could be footprints. You had all these people going out looking for this stuff that really wasn't stuff. And that led to a whole nother phenomenon on social media, the stick structure, folks. Where every stick structure, every fallen tree in the woods is Bigfoot. It's not.
Yeah.
Especially your neck of the woods. How much snow load do you guys get? How much freezing rain do you get? I have that in the Northeast here in New York.
I think, sorry to cut you off there. I think some of those stick structures could possibly be Sasquatch activity. And yesterday, driving through the Nordegg Abraham Lake region, you could look out either side of the David Thompson Highway in the forest and see some of these structures. And, obviously I wasn't going to stop and look at every single one because I'd just be getting home now. But, I think some of them could possibly be Sasquatch activity. But I think for them to be Sasquatch activity, you would have to find them, A, not on the side of a major highway, and B, you'd have to find them pretty far back in the woods. And that is possible to do that there. But I think you got to be. I'm learning now to be more cautious with them because I too, what used to be, stick structure, Bigfoot, Bigfoot, Sasquatch. No,
As a rule of thumb, I always used this, is that you cannot attribute a stick structure to a Sasquatch unless there has been Sasquatch activity in a particular area. You know, if you get a good fresh print, and that's actually going to be Squatch Stories episode 2, is about a tree break and a footprint and a story to go with it. So, you know, that's Squatch Stories episode 2 coming Tuesday, but that was one of the things that, you know, okay, I'm looking for trees. There's a big difference to me, and that's, you know, there's tracking, and where you're tracking, you're looking for tree breaks, but you're looking for tree breaks for motion, and you're looking for tree breaks for direction. That should never be forgotten. That's there. That is absolutely there. You have something big moving that big in the woods, it's going to break stuff. It's gonna mash stuff down. It's gonna break stuff. So not only should you have the evidence down on the ground where something big has moved through, but look up. You can tell what kind of animal it is. If it's here, if it's at the 4 foot 5 foot level, maybe even 5'3" level, it's a deer. A little bit taller, maybe an elk, maybe a little bit taller, a moose. But then you have the tree breaks at the 6 foot level, which is where their shoulders are, and they're moving. They're moving that stuff. That's where to track. You know, don't just look down for sign, look up. But I think people overplayed those tree breaks into a lot more that like, oh, there's some. And what gets me constantly is not the tree breaks or even the uprooted trees that have been planted down. What gets me is the tree bends. People see a tree bend and, wow, look what I found. There's this tree bend, and that could be Sasquatch. No, a tree doesn't just bend like a piece of iron. When you bend a tree, it snaps back. So in order for that tree to stay that way, it's got to be down there for a couple of weeks. And then it grows into that form. That's why the biggest cause of tree bends is ice in New York. You have you get an ice storm, they get the snow load, they start to, and then they're like that if it's really a cold snap and it stays that way for a couple of weeks. When that ice goes away, it stays that way. That's what causes those. Even the Native Americans who, like the Cherokee saddles, they used to make tree saddles, and it was a way of their marking their territories. And you can see examples of those on the internet. I implore people to do that. But it took them weeks and months to make those. Sasquatches can't bend a tree. No matter how strong you are, if you bend it too much, it's going to break. If you bend it not too much, it's going to go. And you only do it for a minute or two or even an hour or two, it's going to go right back to where it came from. So that's why the tree bends thing is what really, really gets me on that.
Yeah, and that's good advice for me to keep my eyes open and make sure that it's actually, if I see a tree bent and I look down and see possible footprints, then maybe it's something. But if it's obviously something that's just, like that, it's obviously going to go back. In my research, and I believe I sent you photos and the story behind it, I believe I've only found one what I believe could possibly be a Sasquatch track, and that was found on July 21st of last year when my girlfriend and I were coming back from Valemount, BC, and we happened to stop at a roadside creek river thing because she wanted to check it out because she likes rivers and creeks and stuff. And now I've sent Steve a copy of those pictures, and I actually made a rookie mistake. I made a very rookie mistake and did not have a ruler or tape measure with me at the time because I wasn't expecting to find anything. So I had to put my bigger camera down. Now, my opinion, I do believe it to possibly be a Sasquatch track, but a older one I would estimate within 3 to 5 days. It had rained the previous night before my girlfriend and I left for Jasper and Valemount. So I believe some of it was washed out. It was, and I barely saw it. I just happened to look to my left and see it. And then of course it may not be nothing. I've sent it to Dr. Meldrum. He said I might possibly have something. So did Mr. Steenberg. Mr. and said it might be possible. All of them said it might possibly have been something. But, you know, of course, it's pretty faint looking. And, of course, it could have been my mind just thinking. But to me, I saw toes. I saw a footprint-like thing. And I took video of the area. I took pictures of the area. I documented as much as I possibly could. And just where it was, too, I thought my thing, if it was a possible Sasquatch track, what I think it went down to the river to take a drink. And when it was coming up the embankment, the small embankment, yeah, that's the one right there. And I think it crossed the highway. And when you cross that highway, it was the Trans-Canada Highway, which is the main highway in Canada that goes from east to west, Highway 16. And in some areas, it's called Highway 1. There was a steep mountain-like trail, game trail, and it was like a spiral staircase. And I was like, well, I can't go up that. I'll fall. So, I mean, you could see, to me, I see a big toe and some other toes, but I mean, it could have been anything too. But to me, that was the closest I think I came to finding a possible footprint. And it took me 10 years to get that.
You know, I do find interesting is like pictures like that.
Yeah, that's the other one but I mean, I tried to not say, oh, that was Bigfoot too. Could have been a moose or something, but it was only a few feet away from that footprint.
Right. And, you know, regardless if, regardless of the, of a moose or whatever, that's something as a researcher we need to investigate. Okay, we're in an active area. There's this lay down here. Let's take a look. Are there droppings? Are there scat? You know, if it's okay, look, there's moose scat or there's deer scat or elk scat. You know, now you have, or a bear scat. Now you have an answer to what may have done that. But now you don't have any scat, and then you may find a print, or you may find a print of a known animal. You know, that's our job, is to investigate stuff like that.
Boy, that looks awful good there, because it's awful flat in the middle, isn't it? I'd love to get over there right now and look at that.
Yeah. I did send, I believe, a picture of the location. I mean, I only got as close as the other tree shadow there because I didn't want to wreck it. So I didn't want to, you know, because I was like, okay, well, I better take a picture of this just in case it's something. But I didn't want to go any closer because I didn't want to wreck what it could be evidence inside a picture.
And let me make a suggestion too. If you're suspecting it being a Sasquatch laying there, one of the things you need to do is grab some of the, you know, glove up. Make sure you're wearing your nitrile gloves. Yeah. Reason being is there may be DNA there. Now with the eDNA, which is environmental DNA, they can actually vacuum that area and get any DNA off of what laid there. So that's very important to do. Put your DNA into a paper bag, not into a plastic. Plastic degrades, it retains humidity and degrades DNA. So any DNA evidence goes into a paper bag. But one thing you can do is take a sample of that and smell it. Right? A Sasquatch is supposed to have this foul, skunky, musky type of odor. Pick some of those leaves up and smell and see if you can get any residual smell off those leaves. Okay. That's what, you know, we have to be one. As crazy as that sounds, we got to be one with nature too. We have a good sniffer. It's just uneducated. So we have to educate it. And that's part of the process. You get something like that, pick it up. One thing I always do too, if I find a potential track, I get my nose down and sniff it, because you may get that odor. That's going to help say, okay, wow, I'm getting that pungent, skunky, musky type odor off that footprint. That adds to the credibility of that print. So you got to kind of think of some of those. Okay, when you're doing that.
I'd be a little worried sniffing that gravel stuff in case it would have went up my nose, but I guess I'd figure out how good it would smell if that happened.
Well, you don't have to get your nose right up to it. You don't have to be like this. You don't have to.
Well, Steve, do you think it would be okay to keep materials that you collected out in the woods in a garbage bag temporarily?
I would recommend it not.
Well, here's the thing. See, part of my new protocol that I have decided to do after some of my last encounters was if I ever run up on like a family group or a group sitting in one area again, after I leave that area, I will come back later when they're not there and collect all the leaf litter from the entire area where they were sitting. You know, and I was thinking that was going to be a big garbage bag full.
My suggestion: use a leaf bag.
Yeah.
Because you don't want that humidity to get in there. You just don't. A leaf bag, and that's what I would use for.
Do they have paper? Paper leaf bags.
Yeah, paper leaf bags. They have me. You go to Home Depot, Lowe's.
Yeah.
They have those.
Yeah.
Ace. You know, that we have to be.
Well, we'll stick one of them in the backpack and get rid of the garbage bag. The plastic one.
I mean, it takes up a little more room, but is what it is. But you know what I always find is you don't need to take it all because then you have a mess. But I would take selected samples and use, lunch bags and close them, tape them, label them.
Oh, no, dude, I done decided this time because I messed up big time last time. I'm going to take every leaf from the whole area, bring it in, put it on a white table on a sheet, and go through every piece individually. Hopefully there'll be a hair or something. Yeah. Some sort of sample.
Remember your chain of evidence, and that's why it's also not a great idea to put it in a large bag. Right. You want to take small samples. That way, you can look at the samples individually in small lots. Because if you look at a big lot, you may lose it. You may, you're still looking at a needle in a haystack because you brought the haystack with you. Yeah, but if you take the stack down a bit, it's a little easier to check.
But believe me, I'm not going to mind taking a one leaf at a time with tweezers and inspecting every one.
and what I suggest also, and this is huge, is that for each item bag you have, you create a number and a log for it. Seal it, tape it, photograph it before it's picked up. Photograph it after it's picked up when it's in the bag. Take a picture of the bag with the evidence number on it. Yeah. And that way you have a record of it. Record keeping is huge in a chain of custody, and that also means the science as well. Yeah. Because you can pick up they found this, they say it was from here. No, we can track exactly. This is the location. Here's the GPS coordinates of the area. Here's the picture of pre-collection. Here's the collection. And there's your sample. Right. So that's it's very important to keep that going. You have to treat it like a crime scene. And a lot of times, researchers don't.
I suppose it would not be a bad idea if you have a area like that where you're going to try to recover DNA evidence to document it like you would archaeological dig, and like string it off with square foot, 1 square foot per square, and label them and then do it that way. Be kind of boring, but what the hell else are you going to do?
Well, forensic collection is not exciting.
Yeah, it could be the greatest discovery in modern age, So I guess it'd be worth a little. Yeah, it'd be worth a little boredom.
I mean, when I took the casting in 2006. Yeah, 2006. I had to think about that. Wow. You always take precast pictures. After the casting where it's in the ground and then post when you pull it. And you always keep those pictures, that's your chain of custody. That's your documentation of what you've done. So it's I think, the Ketchum project failed because, of, in some cases, poor collection attempts. Yeah. And in other cases, poor science. But that's neither here. That's an episode for another show.
Yeah. Cameron, were you able? Did you try to cast that print or?
Oh, it was like I said. I estimated to be 3 to 5 days old. It was like I said. It was faint. I mean, to me it looked like a Sasquatch print. But I mean, I know Steve told me he's got some photographic software that he could check and see if there's anything actually there. But to me, it was. And again, I just totally caught it at a corner of my eye. My girlfriend saw it too. It wasn't just me. I told her to I stood and I literally said, stay right here. I'm going back to the car to get all my cameras.
Right. Yeah.
So I wouldn't lose the spot. I wish I could have casted it, because to me, what I did a few days ago after I got home was I took all those pictures I took of the tracks.
Yeah.
And to me, that track looks almost like Dr. John Bitternagel's track he casted in 1988. It almost has that same toe shape, same print shape to me. That's what it looked like to me. It was the same track structure as Dr. John Bitternagel's track. To me, that's the closest that I saw.
Well,
It has
it's hard for me to make out. There's a stick in there that's throwing my eye off.
Yeah, I didn't want to touch it and pick it up.
Right,
I mean, maybe I should have. Now that Steve told me, there was something I could have put in the brown bag right there. But
well, what I find interesting, and I'll say this: if it's definitely been stepped on. Now, is it a boot track? Because sometimes gravel can, it's kind of like pixels almost in a case like that, where the gravel can throw your contour off.
Right.
But you definitely see that this stick has been mushed into the ground. So something stepped there. And, what I look for in a track is direction. When I have a single print like this where, okay, this one's really good. Direction. That mashing of the items. And I also look for, and of course this shot is too tight. And a lot of people don't understand that.
Yeah.
That you need to take, and maybe you do have a wider shot of it.
I thought I did at one point that I sent you, and also now, like you say, direction. That footprint is pointing directly to cross the highway to where that game trail is. Like that I just couldn't. That's another thing of my mistake. I should have did another picture where I lifted the camera up so you could see it, that it would heading towards the highway and the game trail.
Do you believe the direction of this this print is going to the top of the screen, from the bottom of the screen to the top?
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna give you a little. I actually think it's going the other way, and the reason why is the loose particulate is thrown forward of a print. It's not thrown backward, and you see all this loose particulate.
Yep.
It looks like to me that your actual track is here.
Huh. Ain't that something?
And if you look closely, there's a little ridge right here in this area that seems to be not compressed.
Mm-hmm.
Or actually, in this area that seems to be not compressed, but there seems to be a very deep compression right in the middle of the track. Mid-tarsal break.
But that's interesting, because then
that's one take on it.
Yeah, that's interesting, because now I'm trying to find, okay, where would the toes be now? Because you see where those leaves are? You see where those leaves are in that piece of grass?
Mm-hmm.
That is actually right up against some bush, trees and stuff. There's if you go more to that way, in the original way you had the picture flip, that's the actual path to go back to the parking lot and then cross the highway in this rest spot.
But my question is it a one-way path or a two-way path?
It's a loop.
Okay, but it doesn't matter which way. You can travel both ways on it.
Oh yeah, you can, yeah.
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. It could have been something coming out.
Yeah.
Not necessarily going back in.
Mm.
And that to me looks like what's going on there with this larger picture, because you can see the mashing of this and the particulate thrown forward. Yeah. To me, that's a track that's going in this direction, not the other way around. And that's what I kind of look for that particulate to be thrown forward.
Yeah, and then I guess I'll have to look on my computer and just kind of find where the toes may be then on that way. With you have it turned that way, maybe I was photographing it totally wrong, backwards.
Yeah. And that can happen. And David Winter says left foot. I agree. I agree. Your big toe is probably over here. Something I've seen before is an extension of this toe here. And if you look at this, it does seem a little more clearer, doesn't it? If you look at it upside down.
I guess, yeah. I guess.
And the track direction makes sense with all the particulate that's thrown forward, and that's huge. And that's just tracking 101.
Yeah.
No, that would be a left foot. David, he says right foot. No, that's a left foot. I think the big toe is over here, and I think you got a step right here.
That's interesting. I never would have thought of flipping the picture.
I can't tell.
Well, the detail,
well, yeah, that's just it. I mean, it's
the detail is in, and I took some quick lessons from
Yeah.
Fernando Moriera, and the detail is a lot of times, you can't tell nothing, but sometimes you have to get down to that ground level to see where things have been packed down, and to look at those little signs of where particular is. Fernando actually could track somebody on concrete.
That's pretty hard to do. I don't think I could do that.
Well, you know what he told me? It was kind of funny. He goes, yeah, I take a light, and I get down on the ground, and I look, and you can see where dust impressions actually occur. And that's how he tracks people in garages. I'm like, what?
Well, I could see that if there was a lot of dust on the floor, you could see their track. But as far as like tracking somebody across concrete that's normal.
David's yelling at me, stop flipping the picture around. He's getting confused.
But again, what would make, I guess, with Steve's way of flipping it that way, if the toes are pointed that way, that's directly towards the river, heading towards the river.
There you go. And that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, I mean, there is a possibility it could be the other way, and it was heading back across the highway to go back to the game trail. Right. But with me not being there, seeing what it actually was, who knows? But that is very interesting.
And I think, remember our conversation we had, I said, you got to remember the basics. And a lot of times what people do, I'm not saying this is you all the time, but a lot of people say, well, there's a print. Well, hold on, time out. Let's look at there's been, I've seen this, this hoaxed track. And this is not one of those, I can tell you, because everything is the right way. This hoax track where you can see definitive toes going in one direction, but all the particulate is thrown backwards. And that is not how it works. That's not how it works. Not on a flat piece of ground. If you're going uphill, steep uphill, yeah, that can happen because gravity.
Well, yeah, but you also got to look at the rest of the trackway too, Steve. Right. I know we're not going to get into a tracking lesson here, but there's also push and kick and stuff you got to look for, and did it change direction?
Exactly. Yeah.
But if this is a flat area here, though, I see what you're saying. You definitely.
This is actually going up a hill-like thing to go back to the. But the way Steve has it turned, it would be going down. I was going up.
Right.
With my original shot that I took, but now Steve has it flipped, so it would be going down the embankment towards the river.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense with all that particulate thrown forward as it's stepping. And I bet you the other print is going to be somewhere to the right of that.
Yeah,
the way I have the picture oriented, probably about 2.5 feet, maybe to the right. Or 2 feet to the right.
Well, and I did look around, and I mean, it would have been hard for me to see another print because the leaves there off to the right, but going my way where I originally shot the picture would have been to the left, because it was really like hard ground to see, and I mean, it's obviously, and I did up towards the parking lot. There was some mud where a bus was parked with a trailer on it, and I did walk around the bus. I did walk around where the mud was and didn't see anything. Now that would make sense to me now why I may not have found anything if that print was actually going that way and not the way I originally photographed it.
Now let's also make the caveat here too that this could entirely be a boot print too.
Oh yeah.
I don't see any indications that it's a boot print off the top of what I can look at. Yeah. But some would argue that whole area that's been untouched here is actually where the heel is.
Steve, are you looking at this on your big screen? I mean, where it's very big.
Yeah.
I can't see enough to really make an intelligent comment about it.
So anyway, this is the back, and you can see where particulate has been mashed into the ground.
I can see that. Yeah. Definitely,
And
that's something
then,
crushed that gravel.
And then as we pull out, now you can see kind of the foot line runs about this length right here.
Okay.
Okay. Or the boot length. But anyway, you see the particulate in front of the print that has been thrown.
Right. Yes.
Right, and you can see that this all looks like it's been thrown forward.
Yeah.
So, and of course the little particulate too, and that we expect. We see also we see this naked strip here. See how it's naked right in here?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then over here we see all the particulate start to pick up a little more denser than say in the normal area. So to me, that then again, it could be part of the wash.
Well, it's definitely there's definitely some weight been applied there.
Yeah. Something stepped there, and that's about as much as we can take from it.
Yeah, and that's about all I could take too. But that's really interesting. I'll have to go back and duplicate one of those photos and flip it around and look at it myself on a big screen, because that's interesting how you totally that's. I never would have thought of that. Never would have thought of that.
Now
that's really cool.
Yeah, that's how my mind works, though.
Oh yeah,
completely backwards.
Steve's got what is it, Steve? About a 27-inch monitor there you look at stuff on, or
no? Actually,
that's
that's my main screen. This is only the 22-inch monitor.
Okay.
And then I have a 17-inch monitor over here.
I think my computer's 27-inch, so I'll be able to blow it up pretty good.
So
I like mixed comments. Funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, if he got in the stash of if the Sasquatch got into the stash of moonshine, he would probably be making tracks left and right. Be wobbly.
Yeah. Now, what do you think of Jacko? Have you?
Yeah, I've definitely heard that story before, and I think it's something pretty legit, considering the date of when this supposed event took place. I've never been to the actual site where it was, but I know Mr. Steenberg knows where that site is, and the original train tunnel is still there, or a tunnel that was there. I think it could have been legit. It's a shame that no one took any type of hair sample, but obviously in that point in time there was no such thing as DNA. So I mean, to me, with it, I think older stories are a little bit harder to fake because there wasn't such a thing as social media and YouTube.
There was, though. And you know what they were? The newspapers. So to me, they're harder to prove that they're fake. Not so much that they're hard to fake, because anybody could have printed anything in the day.
True.
So not that we not that journalists have ever had fake news.
I'm not touching that one. No, I think it's a very important story in the history of the Sasquatch and research and history, but it would have been nice for it not to have disappeared, unfortunately. What I find interesting, the most interesting aspect of that whole thing, is how it was breaking and twisting the twigs.
Yeah.
And Chris
that was the thing that really turned me on about that story, because it had a particular way of breaking a stick by wrenching it, and that's pretty good. That hits home.
Now, my question is that a story based on stories we've never heard about, or is it the real thing, and this is just something first time observed? Hard to say. Because for all we know, people could have been talking about strange tracks and something twisting trees as it walks or as it moves through the woods, which we know they do.
Right.
Because they kind of take it and bend it down and break it, and take it and bend it down and break it.
Yeah.
Is this something that was known and they decided to incorporate into the story? Although that is a very, very tough fact to put into a story like that. So
I don't know. And I watched a movie one time too, and they had an offshoot of the Jacko story. And in the movie, they had Jacko was a little Indian boy, and they said he wasn't hairy. He was a little Indian boy from a wild Native American. Well, I guess he wouldn't be.
Not too racist.
Yeah, no.
We call them First Nations now up here.
Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, they were definitely first. Yeah.
Well, that's good to know. See, now I know the Canadian lingo for Native American is First Nations.
Yeah.
People. Gotcha. Just like if you ever hear anybody from England talking about quid. Oh, I need 20 quid. That's their equivalent to bucks. Well, in fact, I need 20 bucks. I need 20 quid. It's their slang for money.
But also though my local football team is called the Eskimos, so that seems to be a hot issue here in my hometown.
Just like the Cleveland Indians and the Cleveland.
Yeah, it's so
the Washington Redskins is
stupid.
another one.
It's so stupid.
Hey, don't be doing the tomahawk chop, dude.
Oh yeah, the Atlanta Braves. Nobody's talking about them because they have like they have a couple of World Series rings. That's why nobody talks about them. If the Redskins had won a couple of Super Bowls, perhaps they would not be talking about their name.
I think they've won 3.
Yeah, recently.
Oh yeah.
I think I was a little kid when they won the last time. How would you like to be like the? Oh yes. In honor of Carol Baskin. The Detroit Tigers are being renamed to the Detroit Joggers.
Ooh.
Thank you, Low Rider, for that thought. I saw that and I was like, I'm going to throw a Baskin comment in there.
Oh, thank God that didn't happen in Kentucky.
Closer to Kentucky than my state.
Oh Lord.
Let's
not get off on that.
See, and what I love is we can have a little bit of fun. This is only Bigfoot. We can have fun with a bunch of other stuff too as it comes at us.
Oh yeah.
But no, I have heard the story of Jacko, and to me, I believe it was an event that happened, but obviously with us never being around at that time, we'll never really know what really happened. But I think something happened.
One of my favorite videos ever I found was Tom Steenberg.
Yes.
Doing the whole Jacko case.
Yeah.
Hello to John. John just popped in. Good to see you today.
John.
And that's huge. So those old news stories, you got to take them with a grain of salt. At the same time, they're nuggets of wisdom in some of them.
Right, Cameron. What do you think about the Albert Ostman story?
Oh,
I think that was in British Columbia, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. Yeah, it was in British Columbia, Toba Inlet, where it took place.
Right.
And to me, again, that like the Jacko incident, that's definitely one of the top classics. I actually have a copy, or no, that's for the William Rowe report. Actually, I have a copy of William Rowe's affidavit he made, signed actually in Edmonton, where I'm from, which is interesting. Where he actually did. So I have a copy of that affidavit that he signed. It was from the city of Edmonton, where I'm from. But anyways, back to I think that Albert Ostman thing is, again, when I listen to, I've listened to Albert Ostman speak, and I actually have recorded an interview that he had just for my file. He never changed his story. And even when I asked Mr. Byrne about it, he talked to Mr. Ostman, and I know DeHinden and John Green did. They both, from publications I've read, he never changed his story. So, I mean, sure, he might have TV documentaries and stuff kind of changed a little bit of the story, but it's still the same type of story.
Yeah.
But I believe it's something that it actually happened. So.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
Albert Ostman affidavit.
Oh, wow.
And another thing I like about the Ostman story is he never made any money off of that. He didn't push it and try to get paid to be on. Well, I guess they didn't have TV then. Well, now it was 57, I think, when he did the interview, wasn't it?
I think with the
can't
Hinder, I think it was
remember.
1957. It's handy. I just pop them out every time.
Yeah.
It says the 20th day of August, 1957, right on the affidavit.
Yeah, there it is,
There we
right
go.
there. Yep.
Right there.
Yeah.
August 20th, 1957.
1957. Yeah.
Yep.
So you know, we had TV then, but I don't know if people were like really getting paid much money to be on TV. But anyway, you know, he didn't do this to make money out of. So that was something that's going for him, you know, in a positive way, in my opinion.
Right. Yeah, for sure. No, I think and it's really interesting how he escaped, you know, giving him the box of chewing tobacco and stuff.
That's interesting.
Like to me, it's like if you're going to fake something out of that, you would have thought you would have like maybe shot the creature or something a little bit more great. But for him to escape using a bag of snuff, using a natural deterrent, rather than just shooting him, I think actually makes the story more credible.
I'm the same way, Cameron. I believe the same way. You know, it's too funny to be wrong, you know.
It's too weird, yeah.
Well, it plays on their natural instincts, too. Curiosity. You know, curiosity killed the cat. And I think these creatures, one of the main reasons that we see them, you know, albeit not very often, but when we do see them, the reason is because they were curious and they came near us to see, you know, what we were doing or what we were, or maybe just to watch us. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that's when I was out hiking yesterday. I like I said, I had this feeling, you know, when we were hiking about Sasquatch could have easily been watching my girlfriend and I the whole time we were there. We never even would have seen it unless it wanted us to see it.
Right.
David Winter suggests that see if you can hook up with John Kirk sometime. John did research on.
I'm trying to find out how to contact John Kirk. I haven't had much luck trying to find it on Google or anything, or if he had a website or something.
He's on Facebook.
Okay, well then that's much more helpful. So, I mean, I don't want to like randomly like stalk people. I try and see if they have a website or something like that first, rather than just like, let me just look this person up on YouTube, Facebook, and randomly message them and them going, who the hell are you? Like, how'd you find me?
You know, it's nothing to hit somebody up with an email. You know, the worst they can do is not answer you, or you know, if they don't want to talk to you, they can send a message. Sorry, I don't want to talk to you. That's fine.
Yeah.
And if you want to attach me to that group chat, I'm friends with John, so go right ahead.
Oh, okay.
So just put a group message. Hey, I'd like to talk to John, and
sure.
I'll help you out there.
Okay, sounds good.
And I believe, Cameron, we've had Bill Munns on the show several different times. I believe if you contact Bill through his website.
Oh, yeah, that's definitely another person. I mean, I got that.
He is. I mean, he's on one of my my list of one of my heroes. Okay, so
right.
He will definitely contact you. He's a nice guy.
That's why I have this book here too.
Roger Met Patty. Yep.
Yeah.
Bill Munn's book. Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Like this is just amazing work that he did.
Yes.
And you know, for him, he's got the experience of somebody that was in the movie industry making, makeup and costumes and stuff.
Yes.
So he would know if this was fake and what materials would have or could have been used to fake it. Right. And I mean, I won't get too much into it, but I know for a fact that film is real and it's not fake.
Well, Bill did a lot of studies that were really scientific in nature, and a lot of people kind of laughed him off, a lot of his naysayers, but he did stuff that was really smart. I mean, he did things like an impact wave to where Patty's foot struck the ground, and there you could see the wave and measure that, and went up through their body. And he did human subjects, and he tested that, and it's so smart the way he did that. I mean, hats off.
Yeah, like it's amazing, and I've watched movies too on YouTube, and it's just amazing how he could say, like, if Patty or Roger Patterson's coming at this direction, the creature would have been coming at this direction, like, right. And the sun would have been shining here, like, just so much detail, and just kind of even the quote unquote, even in this book, butt muscles and stuff like that. You look at this, it's not a human in a costume. It is not a human in a costume.
Well, I certainly hope not. But anyway, we're going to go to 10:30 tonight, Chris. So we just got a few more minutes.
Fast.
We talked about a bunch of stuff tonight. So,
well, I guess since we have Chris, what would be your advice for me? I mean, just just keep doing what I'm doing. Obviously, like my kind of thing is, I'm going to stick to close to home. I'm going to, get as much advice and stuff as I can out of these big time researchers such as yourself and Steve.
Oh, dude, I'm nobody, but I'll tell you what,
I'm not big.
If you stick close to home, that way you're not out $5 million in gas, which, the gas not been too bad here lately though. But, that's what I always did. I stick close, and I still do. I stick close to home. I mean, I would love to investigate sightings that are way far away, but I can't really do that and get to the area to check it out and on a regular basis. Like, I have been over in way western Kentucky, over at Land Between the Lakes, but I was only able to get out there that one time. And man, if you get a sighting in an area, it needs to be somewhere where you can go like, every, day or two, or maybe once a week or something like that.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I think you're doing a good job, and I'm proud of the job you're doing.
Yeah,
just don't be afraid to talk to people, dude, because I mean everybody puts their pants on the same way if they wear pants, and most of these guys you want to talk to, like Bill Munns and all these guys, they're great.
Tom Steenberg, Steve.
Tom Steenberg, I hate to say it, but he's a good guy too. Yeah.
Well, he's definitely been helping me out a lot, and he was the first. He was the first person I called when I got back into this because I talked to him a bit ago as well. But I'm just basically going to stick to the prairie provinces of Canada and Alberta, especially Western Alberta, because it is easier for me to get to other than BC, and I know there's a lot of people with their fingers in BC. So I don't really think there's a need for me to be involved in British Columbia. I would like to go to Sasquatch Provincial Park in BC, Harrison Hot Springs, that area, because I always wanted to go. But I think for me, like what I saw yesterday, to me, like I said, if there's a Bigfoot roaming Alberta, that's the spot.
And Cameron, before we go, how can people get a hold of you?
Okay, if you have a report or if you want to talk Bigfoot, I do have a specific email for that, and I will just get that to you. It is called so many of them. Sorry. It's called the Canadian. My email, my Bigfoot research email is CanadianPrairieSasquatch@gmail.com, capital CPNS, CanadianPrairieSasquatch@gmail.com. And my Facebook group, if you would like to join or report a sighting involving Alberta, Saskatchewan, or Manitoba, is the Canadian Prairie Sasquatch Research Project.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on tonight.
Good deal.
Very intriguing, and you know what? It's always great to talk to people that are getting back into it, even though you've been back in it for a few years. Yeah. But you're doing a full court press on it, and I really appreciate that, and I expect big things from you to come out of the future.
Well, thank you very much. And if I ever do become the one to discover it, I definitely will give credit to a lot of the originals, and whoever's still around at the time, if we're even around at all, if I discover it, it's going to be a very big party, and we can tell a whole bunch of people that didn't believe us to take a hike.
Yep. Well, it's all about validating those witnesses.
Right.
Well, Cameron, thanks for coming on tonight. We appreciate you, brother, and keep in touch, and we'll have you on back again when you get some more evidence. Please,
for sure.
please.
If you can definitely help me contact John Kirk and Bill Munns, that would be much appreciated.
We got to get John Kirk on this show too. So we and Munns, we haven't had Munns on in a while, and so
been a while.
Yeah, we'll have a lot of fun. Okay, you take care, Cameron.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thanks, Cameron.
Nice.
Whoop. So we got him backstage, and So great show tonight. A lot of fun.
Oh, great guest. Oh, I enjoyed talking to Cameron. Great guest.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. We'll put the schedule reminder up real quick. What we're doing this week on the channel. So again, Tuesday we'll be cutting another episode of Squatch Stories.
Dude, we gotta wait till Tuesday for that. Come on, man.
Come on now. It's so late at night.
Yeah.
For me, it's like, okay, and then I got to do post-production on this to, get tagged right now. And, the fun stuff. All that fun poppycock. But, so we're going to have a lot of fun. And, of course, the video blog, which will be Wednesday at 9 p.m. And Friday, who knows what's going to, come out of my coconut between now and then. Maybe something funny, maybe something silly, maybe something serious. Don't know. But it's just going to be out there for fun. So, we got to kind of get that rhythm down now. But anyway, Chris, if you want to do the whole like, share, and subscribe thing.
Oh, yeah. All our viewers on YouTube, please, if you don't mind, give us a like and hit that subscribe button and share it if you can. We appreciate it. Helps us out. Gives us more options to do with videos and stuff on the channel. And we sure appreciate it.
And if you even are so inclined, hit the little notification bell.
Oh, yeah. Ring that bell. Come on. Ring that bell.
Ring the bell. All right, folks. On behalf of me and Chris, I want to wish everybody a happy and safe week. We're getting through this. I think we're in the final stretch of this social distancing crap. But anyway, for me and Chris, everybody be safe. God bless. And, of course, keep on squatching. We'll catch you all here next Sunday night, 9 p.m. Eastern. Guest forthcoming. You'll be seeing it soon. Okay, folks. Catch you later.
Hey folks, you've been watching Squatch-D TV. Join us each week, Sunday night at 9 p.m. Eastern for the latest on the Bigfoot mystery. As always, we thank you for being our loyal viewers and encourage all to subscribe to our YouTube page at youtube.com/Steve Kulls. As always, have a great week. Stay safe. God bless. And keep on squatching.